essentially himself, into this shell, events unfolding upon that world, with the Prador Vrell trying to escape and the Prador Vrell arriving in a massive space dreadnought to stop him, once again drew him in and allowed him to exercise his special talent for mayhem. But that's all over, and the whole world now seems set to become more civilized. Perhaps too civilized for a drone who specializes in blowing things up. "It's not fair," says his companion. Sniper peers at 13, an erstwhile submind of the previous Spatterjay warden, which now occupies a drone body in the form of an iron seahorse with topaz eyes. The little drone wraps his tail round one of the cargo frame struts as he studies their surroundings. "No such thing as fair," Sniper snorts. Despite his heroic efforts in fighting for the polity, Sniper's considered a bit of a loose cannon, or rather several loose cannons rolled into one. In fact, many of the polity's controlling AIs consider him plain dangerous, or him having obtained that very high-spec drone body even positively lethal. At the end of the conflict involving Vrell and Vrost, Sniper rescued a Prador war drone containing a downloaded copy of Vrell's mind. The AIs hadn't liked that either, and though Sniper made some alterations, causing the Prador drone to switch loyalties to the polity, they nevertheless confiscated it for further study. Next came the order for Sniper himself to report for assessment, at which point this 700-year-old veteran of the Prador human war and numerous subsequent conflicts decided it really was time to be elsewhere. "But you're a free drone," 13 complains. "Just like me." Sniper ponders the old and much-abused concept of freedom. Yes, he is indeed as free as any other citizen in the polity, and is also given a great deal of freedom of action when it comes to dealing with his enemies. However, he is now very powerful and dangerous, and if just for one moment the controlling AIs feel his mind is too unstable, or that in some other way he might become a threat, they'll be down on him like a falling space station. He doesn't really understand what it is about his recent behavior that's impelled them to order him in for assessment, but he has no intention of waiting around to find out. "Let's take a look around in here." Sniper pushes himself out from between the two halves of the crate to enter the nearest aisle. Propelling himself forward and steadying his course with deft touches of his tentacles against the surrounding framework, he begins scanning. 13 pushes off after him, lowering his tail down onto the bigger drone shell and sticking there. The cargo immediately around them was loaded along with their own crate, and consists of numerous items acquired on Spatterjay. Some big crates of whelk shells, one small crate of wartime artifacts including slave collars, a couple of spider thralls, a complete human skeleton with something metallic in its skull from which metal threads run down the spine, a full thrall unit in fact, and a couple of very old pulse rifles. Sniper recognizes all these illegal exports instantly, because at one time he himself turned a tidy profit by finding and selling such artifacts. Also here rest 3 cylinders with enviro-control consoles affixed to the exterior. Scanning inside, Sniper observes slow writhing movement and recognizes that each one contains a tangled mass of Spatterjay leeches. "I wonder who wants them?" wonders 13. "Always a market for immortality," Sniper replies. "Yeah, but who wants that kind?" Though the bite of a Spatterjay leech infects its victim with the primary virus of that world, the longevity it imparts is a mixed blessing. Reinfection at constant intervals is necessary, and if the one infected is injured or starved, the virus can take over completely and turn him into something no longer really human. This might once have been considered a small price to pay for what amounts to virtual immortality, but with present polity technologies making it possible for anyone to extend his lifespan indefinitely, it's one most are no longer prepared to pay. More likely, those buying a bite from these leeches are attracted more by the idea of turning into something like an old captain, a nearly unkillable superhuman capable of bending iron bars with his eyelids. Next along from these containers is one enormous item secured in another longer and wider cylinder.